I caught a tremendous fish and held him beside the boat, half out of water, with my hook fast in a corner of his mouth. He didn't fight. He hadn't fought at all. He hung a grunting weight, battered and venerable and homely. Here and there his brown skin hung in stripes like ancient wallpaper, and its pattern of darker brown was like wallpaper. Shapes like full-blown roses, stained and lost through age. He was speckled with barnacles, fine rosettes of lime, and infested with tiny white sea lice. And underneath 2 or 3 rags of green weed hung down. While his gills were breathing in the terrible oxygen, the frightening gills, fresh and crisp with blood that can cut so badly, I thought of the coarse white flesh, packed in like feathers, the big bones and the little bones, the dramatic reds and blacks of his shiny entrails, and the pink swim bladder like a big peony. I looked into his eyes, which were far larger than mine, but shallower and yellowed, the irises backed and packed with tarnished tinfoil, seen through the lenses of old scratched isinglass. They shifted a little, but not to return my stare. It was more like the tipping of an object toward the light. I admired his sullen face, the mechanism of his jaw, and then I saw that from his lower lip, if you could call it a lip, grim, wet, and weapon-like, hung 5 old pieces of fish line, or 4 in a wire leader, with the swivel still attached, with all their 5 big hooks grown firmly in his mouth. A green line frayed at the end, where he broke it, 2 heavier lines, and a fine black thread, still crimped from the strain and snap when it broke and he got away. Like metals with their ribbons, frayed and wavering, a 5-haired beard of wisdom trailing from his aching jaw. I stared, and victory filled up the little rented boat. From the pool of bilge where oil had spread a rainbow around the rusting engine, to the bailer rusted orange, the sun-cracked thwarts, the oarlocks on their strings, the gunwales, until everything was rainbow, 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 and I let the fish go.
So this is my analysis of The Fish by Elizabeth Bishop. It is a 1-stanza poem with free verse, which means there is no rhyme or meter to it. I will be using the CRD method to analyze the poem, and the first question is, who is speaking? And that can be found in the first line that says, I caught a tremendous fish. The reader can infer that the speaker is more than likely a fisherman, while the gender or name is not revealed throughout the entire poem. The setting can be seen with beside the boat, meaning that the fisherman is inside of this boat, which we later find out is rented and rusted and cracked and has oil spill in it. And also you can figure out that the fisherman is likely on salt water, as the use of barnacles, because barnacles are native to only salt water. And to whom or what is this poem directed towards? I believe that the author had more of a broad audience, as the topic or purpose seems more broad, and the situation of this poem is about the fisherman catching this fish that appears to be very noteworthy and is progressed as the speaker slowly gains more admiration for the fish that is revealed through the wording in the poem. So the second question in CRD is, how does the poem say? And this is basically, how does the author use devices and imagery to develop their theme or purpose? So I believe the theme or purpose is about the complexity and the beauty of nature and our relationship with it. And Bishop uses 5 different devices to develop this theme. The 5 that I found are her use of colors, her use of metaphors and similes, her use of personification, her use of the speaker admiration towards the fish, and her use of juxtaposition, contrasting flowers and the gruesome and worn out images of the fish. So the first device she uses is color use, and that can be seen in everything highlighted pink. It's used throughout the poem to describe the fish and provide more imagery. And at the end, the author uses the word rainbow, and I believe she uses rainbow to show all the aspects and colors of the fish and the surroundings, such as the boat, coming together to create a beautiful picture in the speaker's mind. And this develops the plot as it shows the beauty of nature through separate aspects that might not be beautiful, but together they create the complexity and the beautiful nature that we see. The second device used by Bishop is the use of similes and metaphors. It can be found in all the lines highlighted green. Some examples include like ancient wallpaper, like full-blown roses, like feathers, like a big peony, and I believe Bishop uses these to develop the idea of complexity and beauty as they provide more rich imagery and detail into what the fish looks like and just his overall beauty, but also at the same time his weatheredness, his agedness, and it also provides more insight onto why the speaker is gaining more admiration as they look deeper and deeper into the fish. The third device that Bishop uses is the use of personification of the fish. It is everything highlighted in blue. The first use of it is when the speaker describes the fish as he. While it is possible the speaker could have checked to see if the fish is a male or female, the use of he instead of just a repetition of the fish or it is more personal. Personification increases as the poem goes on, and can be seen in the description as the face as sullen. All fishes don't show emotion, so describing the face of a fish as sullen provides it with a human emotion, which personifies it beyond what a fish is actually. Also, the use of the lower lip, which she does correct herself, also personifies it, as fish obviously don't have lips. Then the use of a 5-haired beard when describing the hooks in the fish's mouth also personifies the fish, as beards are specific to humans, so describing a fish as having a beard personifies it as more human-like. And also just another use of projecting emotions onto the fish with his aching jaw, as the speaker truly doesn't know how the fish is feeling, but she provides these emotions towards it as she is gaining more admiration towards the fish. The fourth device she uses to develop the idea of our view of the complexity and beauty of nature is through the speaker admiration of the fish, which can be seen through the use of the word venerable, which means basically to respect. And then as the poem goes on, the speaker begins to gain more awe and admiration of the fish, which can also be seen in "I looked into his eyes," which one doesn't really typically do to its prey or something that it plans to eat. So this shows a deeper connection between the fish and the speaker. And then the speaker just outright says they admire and the mechanisms of his jaw. They realize the complexity of the fish, specifically his jaw, and they admire just how complex in the history and the batteredness and the beauty of this fish. Then it uses the phrase like medals with their ribbons, which gives the fish a sense of prestige, wisdom, which gives this admiration towards just the wiseness and the oldness of the fish. And then I stared and stared as the speaker is almost awestruck by this fish. And then finally, with the release of the fish, as the speaker wants to let the fish go, as they admired it so much and they found so much beauty in the surroundings of the fish. The fifth device that Bishop uses is the juxtaposition of the images of flowers and the gruesome and aged and battered images of the fish. And this can be seen with the words roses, rosettes, and peonies, contrasting the stained and lost through age, and this section talking about the terrible oxygen and the blood and the cutting gills, and talking about the bones and the innards and the battered and homely nature of the fish. So the beautiful image of the flowers contrasts this aged fish to show the complexity in that while the fish is old and beat up, there's still beauty to be found in it. The final question of CRD is, what does this poem say to me? And while I've never been a fan of fishing, I believe that the idea of the beauty and complexity in nature is beyond just fishing, and so it applies to everyone, as everyone has found beauty at one point in nature, and just admiring it is a big part of this poem. And I believe that the author wants us to admire the beauty and the complexity and our relationship with nature. and she does this through all the previous listed devices in the admiration of the speaker towards the fish.